El Salvador is a country where the most remarkable places are often the hardest to find. Today, that search leads me far beyond the pavement, into the mountains, down roads that barely qualify as roads at all, in search of a wildlife sanctuary. It's a place devoted to animals who cannot return to the wild. And reaching it requires a journey almost as wild as the creatures it protects. Before we begin, I want to extend my sincere thanks to a few wonderful supporters: Carol, Laura, and Will. Your encouragement and kindness make this journey possible, and I'm deeply grateful. Last week's top comment goes to Eric, who has been sharing his desire to reclaim his ancestral home in El Salvador since the beginning of this series. It's clear that his words have resonated, not just with me, but with many others as well. Eric, your persistence and passion have truly moved people. Thank you everyone for continuing to share your thoughts. I read every comment, so please keep them coming. I've started a channel membership. If you're interested, click subscribe and then join for more details. Today, I'm searching for an animal sanctuary in the middle of nowhere, and the journey is taking me far off the beaten path. Literally. I realize I've spent a lot of time talking about the roads in El Salvador. And at this point, I'm slightly concerned I sound like a broken record. But in the interest of fairness, and as a public service announcement for future visitors, we need to talk about them again. The main roads here? Fantastic, smooth, reliable, confidence building. They make you feel like a very competent traveler. The problem is, the most beautiful places in El Salvador are rarely located on those roads. No, the gorgeous views, the hidden lakes, the mysterious mountains, those live off the beaten path. And getting to them means leaving the nice roads and venturing onto routes that are less road and more strong suggestion of a path. So now, my biggest fear isn't danger. Salvadorans make me feel very safe. My biggest fear is not reaching the destination. I'm basically driving forward on faith, hoping the destination still exists. Because what if you drive all this way and the place you're looking for isn't there anymore? What if it is there, but it's closed? And yet, I keep going. Because sometimes the only way to see the best parts of a country is to take the risk. These roads are so bad that I'm like waiting for the cruel joke where you're trying to get someplace and it's in the middle of nowhere and you have to get on the worst road possible to get there, and then it's just not there. Like somebody created some kind of jinx location. I'm just happy that this place actually exists, because that would have been just the worst waste of time and energy ever if it didn't. I'm gonna take a minute to breathe, and then I'm going to get out. Is it just me, or does this not look just like Jurassic Park? Hola. Gracias. Before my vegan family comes for me in the comments, let me clarify something. This isn't a zoo. The Fundación Refugio Salvaje, aka FURESA, is a wildlife sanctuary devoted to protecting endangered species and caring for animals that, for various reasons, can no longer survive in the wild. Some were rescued from illegal trafficking. Others were injured, orphaned, or born in captivity. Either way, returning them to the wild simply isn't an option. When I visited, entry for foreigners was $15, though it appears the price may have increased recently. That admission helps fund each animal's care, including balanced nutrition, veterinary and dental treatment, and habitats designed to resemble their natural environments as closely as possible so they can live in relative comfort and with dignity. FURESA is also an environmental education center, encouraging visitors to understand why protecting wildlife and ecosystems, both locally and globally, matters so much. The sanctuary follows internationally recognized standards for conservation and ethical animal care. And yes, it's complicated. No one likes seeing animals behind barriers, least of all vegans. But when the alternative for these animals would likely be suffering or death, a protected sanctuary like this becomes the most compassionate option available. Sometimes conservation isn't perfect. It's simply the best path forward for animals who can't return to the wild, and I'm happy to support it.
See how I effortlessly get it right. 그리다란다고 다 되는 것도 아니야. You could try it all you want and waste your time. You look ahead, a million people in the line, but I'm one step away until the day I will be gone. Baby, you're a shooting star or a rising star. Name yourself. That's right. It's all about the mindset. Just focus on yourself. It's all about the mindset. Keep moving on. I'm one step away until the day I will be gone. Baby, you're a shooting star or a rising star. Name yourself in a galaxy. Don't let the others fool your mind.
Would you brave the road to visit FURESA? Let me know in the comments. While you're at it, since you've made it this far in the video, please click the like button. It helps, more than you know.
I had to take a break. It's just literally too hot. But there's no way that I could come to FURESA and not think of the Salvadoran tale that's very similar to the English and German tales, respectively, of Robin Hood and the Pied Piper. It's kind of like Robin Hood is the Pied Piper. Of course, the Salvadoran version is a little bit darker than the English and the German versions, but it's still very endearing.
As always, thank you to Timeless Stories of El Salvador for the inspiration. In the mid-1500s, when the smoke of conquest blackened the skies and rivers ran red across the land now called El Salvador, a young indigenous man named Talise awoke to a nightmare. His humble village lay in ashes. Everyone he loved was dead, or wished they were. The Spaniards had taken everything: life, dignity, freedom. Before Talise's eyes, they defiled the woman he loved and then murdered her. He tried to stop them, but a musket blow knocked him unconscious. The invaders assumed he was dead and rode off, their wagons laden with stolen treasures. As Talise stood up, vengeance rooted itself in his heart like a tree of fire. He buried the dead by hand, whispering prayers as tears carved lines down his soot-streaked face. Then, he knew what he had to do. Obsidian blade in hand, he followed the tracks of the invaders, silent, invisible, like a ghost with purpose.
Talise caught up to them beneath a blood moon sky. While they slept, he crept into their encampment with nothing but his obsidian blade and fury. One by one, he spilled their blood. A few awoke, escaped, and then gave chase. But Talise vanished into the hills like mist before morning.
Talise wandered for days, hunted and haunted, surviving on roots, wild fruit, and rainwater. When he wasn't running, he was weeping. Then, as he rested by a tree along a narrow path, he heard the dreaded sound of a beast's hooves. Clip-clop, clip-clop. No indigenous person rode horses. Only the invaders did. He pulled out his blade and moved behind a thicker tree. The hoofbeats stopped. Talise smelled the scent of a volcano, but there were none nearby. The voice that spoke was deep, smooth, and in his native tongue. Hello, Talise.
Curiosity got the best of Talise, so he peeked. This was no invader, but his appearance was unlike any of the people Talise had ever known.
His long, lustrous black hair flowed like a midnight river, framing a face set in solemn mystery. Clad entirely in black, from his gauntleted hand to the dark folds of his attire, he bore upon his brow a crown of black feathers that gleamed like obsidian. Beneath him loomed a horse as fearsome as its master, its eyes glowing a sinister red, its breath rising in smoky tendrils, each step searing the earth with scorched hoofprints, as though fire itself trailed in their wake. You can drop the blade if you wish. I mean you no harm, said the man as he dismounted. Talise stepped forward, wary, but cautious. "Where are you running?" "I don't know," said Talise. "My home is gone." "I know," the man replied. "I also know the names of those who took it, and I know how you can take everything from them." Talise's eyes flared. "Can you bring back my people?" "No," the man said, "but I can give you the power to build a new home and make the invaders suffer as you have."
The offer was simple. Talise would take what the Spaniards valued most, their livestock and their wealth. In return, the man asked for only one thing, not today, but over time.
"Tell everyone," said the stranger. "The man in black makes dreams come true." Talise hesitated. But what did he have to lose? Then he nodded. "Yes, I understand." "Good," said the man. "Then walk into their village and take what's yours." With that, the man mounted his infernal steed and vanished in a trail of smoke and fire. Before Talise had time to ponder his next steps, a golden eagle swooped from the sky. Talise flinched, but the bird did not strike. It landed gently on his arm. The eagle became his eyes. That night, it guided him to a walled Spanish settlement. A single guard slept at the gate. Before Talise could move, animals began exiting the gate. First, a dog, then chickens, then horses, then cattle. They lined up before him as if awaiting a shepherd. The guard awoke and sounded the alarm. Talise fled with the animals into the forest. After walking for many days and nights, he and the animals reached a distant Spanish outpost where he sold the livestock, except for the dog and the eagle. They were his new companions. For the first time, Talise held silver and gold in his hands. It was more than he had ever seen or dreamed of. Soon, the eagle led him to another Spanish outpost. The pattern repeated. The animals filed out, Talise guided, all followed, and wealth flowed. He never kept all of it. Most he gave to nearby indigenous villages. The people began calling him El Partadinho, protector of the poor. The people spoke in hushed, reverent tones of Talise. They said he forsook the spoils of conquest, built himself a simple dwelling, and lived with quiet dignity upon the mountain now called Cerro El Partideño, Partisan Hill. There he buried the modest share of the treasure he claimed and kept watch over the valley below.
Talise became a legend, forever on the move, followed by dogs and an eagle, always returning to Cerro El Partideño. He never buried his treasure in the same place twice. When asked where he gained his skill, Talise would smile and say, "From a man dressed as black as night." Word spread of a man in black who granted power and fortune in exchange for a deal. He became known across the land as El Caballero Negro, the Black Knight.
Years passed. Talise aged. His hair turned gray, but he remained a simple man living a simpler life. One day, he was ambushed by Spanish soldiers. They had tracked him for decades. His eagle attacked. His dogs fought. But they had guns. Talise told his companions to flee to save them. He surrendered without a fight. Marched to town and thrown into a stone cell, he waited. The eagle brought him food daily through the window bars. Then came his sentence: death by hanging for the crimes of murder and theft. The day of execution arrived. The gallows were raised. Soldiers marched Talese through town. The crowd watched as he stood calm, unafraid. The noose was placed. The trap door dropped. At that moment, the eagle screamed, a cry so loud it silenced the town. Everyone looked up. When the crowd looked again, Talese was gone. In his place, the gallows were overwhelmed by a swarm of foul-smelling, white-lipped peccaries. The animals raced out of town, dogs protecting them, the eagle leading them. The town square left empty, noose still swinging.
According to official records, Talese was hanged and buried. But the grave is empty. No bones, no marker, no answers. He was never seen again. At least not in human form.
Some say that, in the end, Talese outwitted the Black Knight, a shadowed figure who had bargained with desperate souls across the ages. But this supposed victory was part of the Black Knight's design. He never bargained Talese's soul. He sought something else. From the moment the Black Knight gave Talese powers, he was no longer a nameless specter tied to a dead pond. He had become legend. His name and face would change as he crossed lands and centuries. But with his legend came even more power. A perilous hope took root in the hearts of those bold or reckless enough to make a deal with him. The belief that, with cunning, courage, and the right twist of fate, one might seize the treasures of the world and yet keep their soul intact. For what greater cruelty can there be than to let mortals believe they could triumph, when, in truth, they were only playing deeper into a game as wicked and calculated as the creature himself.
To this day, people still dig in the hills, hoping to find Talese's hidden treasure. Some claim to have found it, and it changed their lives forever. The last joined the ranks of El Salvador's prestigious 14 families. They all whisper the same name, El Partadinho, champion of the people.
Some places test your patience before they reveal themselves. FURESA is one of those places. The road to reach it may be rough, dusty, and occasionally questionable, but the destination reminds you why the journey matters. Here, animals that cannot return to the wild are given something many of them never had before: safety, care, and a chance to live with dignity. It may not be perfect, but sometimes compassion isn't about perfection. It's about doing the best we can for the lives placed in our care. And somehow, standing here in these mountains, it's easy to understand why stories like the legend of El Partideño were born in places like this. These hills have seen conquest, suffering, courage, and defiance. They have hidden fugitives, protected secrets, and inspired legends that refuse to disappear. Whether Talese became part of the Black Knight's legend or the Black Knight became part of Talese's is something the mountains will probably never reveal. But perhaps that's the point. El Salvador is a country where history and myth walk side by side, where hidden roads lead to spectacular places, and where, if you're willing to step out on faith, you might discover something remarkable. Stay curious, be inspired, find freedom, wander elsewhere. I'll see you in the next one.